Let's take a look at this map, shall we? Is this the most realistic map of how the U.S. is going to look in the future? I think that this is probably a fairly realistic map. Now, we're going to talk about the middle of the United States. Okay, we're going to talk about the area that used to be covered with water. Okay, and there's been plenty of flooding events. Let's just take a look at the flooding events that are going on in America today. So, if there was some kind of a regional flood event in the past that was a tsunami from an earthquake or a regional flooding event from rain or some kind of a hurricane or even tornadic events or snowstorms that melted, who knows, whatever. There were floods in the past, many, many times regionally. So the notion of a worldwide flood with the amount of water that we have may or may not be possible depending upon some of these reports that were talked about the mud flood and when it came and some of the people that witnessed this mud flood, that it said it came during a day where there was no rain, there was no uh, there was no problems with the sky. The sky turned a strange color, and then all of a sudden the earth started rippling and just layers of stuff started just coming and buried everything, and it was just that fast, and then it hardened almost as fast as it came. Now, I'm going to invisibilize this a little bit. Hang on a sec. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about a region in this area called Terra del Lesso. Now, this area is called the Land of Jesus. Now, I believe, and several other people have said that they believe that America is ancient Egypt. Now, there's this area called the Driftless area in the Minnesota area that I'm going to show you here in a minute. And Mount Eagle is where many people survived floods. So we've got an area here called the Land of Jesus, Terra del Lesso, on ancient maps, right here in this Minnesota area where no glaciers formed and they were saved by a bunch of floods because of a 2,100 foot peak. Let me show you this. Here is the area called the Driftless area. I believe this is where Terra del Lesso, the Land of Jesus, is. Now, this area is very strange. You are driving along these flat lands in Minnesota, and all of a sudden this big hump comes out of nowhere. And supposedly right here in this area, no glaciers formed. But this isn't the area that they were saved from the floods, but this area right here, no glaciers formed. And apparently there was this area in Minnesota that was very plush during these times, and I believe this area right here is Terra del Lesso. My thoughts. I might be wrong. Terra del Lesso. Now, apparently, this is the Land of Jesus. Now, a spacecraft that landed in Rendlesham Forest was trying to study ancient Egypt in Sedona, Arizona. Everybody knows about the caves found there with all the ancient Egyptian relics. Apparently, under the Devil's Tower, they just found ancient Egyptian relics. So now here's this place called the Land of Jesus, and there's this area called Eagle Mountain where people survived floods, and this driftless area where no glaciers were during the glacial period, where apparently people could have survived that event. And so is Minnesota the Land of Jesus? Is Jerusalem, Utah, where seas parted? Because I believe it is. The Grand Canyon is proof of that. It goes 20 miles out into the ocean, the Grand Canyon, meaning the Grand Canyon filled up with water from something. Well, that Great Salt Lake is proof that there once was an ocean that ran all the way down through America, and the proof is that during World War I, they were promising soldiers beachfront ocean property in the promised land in Joplin, Arizona, or Joplin, Minnesota, or Joplin, Missouri, wherever the hell that place is. So it is true that there once was an ancient ocean, and that seas did indeed part by Jerusalem, Utah, because the Great Salt Lake is the part that was left. And the rest went down the Grand Canyon in 27 minutes, creating the Grand Canyon, and Baja California in the process. Baja California is the inside of the Grand Canyon. Terra del Lesso, the land of Jesus, apparently in Minnesota. Jerusalem, right down the road. Bethlehem, Texas. All starting to come together. Four Rivers. I don't know. Is it true? Isn't it? I don't know, but it's fun to talk about. Here's another ancient map showing this Tierra del Lesso place. And I guess it was very well documented in past maps. Many of them, this area of Minnesota. Another map showing various forms of this particular area. I just find it fascinating. I never even knew anything about this area until today, but I believe it is this driftless area that they are talking about in Minnesota, where many lives were saved from floods on these high 2,000-foot areas where this water was running by, and it wasn't high enough to go over the top of those peaks on Eagle Mountain and this area called the driftless area. 1776 map showing Tierra del Lesso, aka the land of Jesus. Apparently, almost every Hollywood movie has this symbol in it. If anybody knows what this symbol is, email me. I need to know what this means. All right, so Mount Eagle is where people survived the flood. Mount Eagle is also Mount Sinai. Minnesota is the highest state on average in the U.S. There was water there in the beginning. We sailed across most before settling in Minnesota. Blah, blah, blah. The Egyptian rite of this particular incident. We talked a little bit in the past about fifth dimensions. We don't even know about our past. So how could we possibly know about the future? How could we possibly know about technology if they won't even tell us the truth about our past and where Jerusalem really is and where the Lord is really from and where seas really parted? How do we really know anything if we can't find out the basic facts of our reality? You know, if you take a look at this map, it's definitely got some areas where you could skedaddle. And it looks like there's been some major traumatic kind of events that went down up in that area. Now, we know Minnesota's a mess. It has been for a while. But just tell me that doesn't look like some whack stuff. That last little bit got cut off a little bit, but I don't really care. You know, the state, you can see it's gone through some drama. And you know, we were told to save the drama for your mama, but apparently Minnesota didn't listen. So Minnesota, are you the motherland? Are you the land of Jesus and some whack looking topography you got there, yo? Anyway, we'll do more research on this. We'll let you know what we find out.